Hello, scholars. I wanted to take a moment to speak with you about the whistleblower letters that you're writing. Once again, we find ourselves in one of these discussion boards that's not really too much of a discussion board, but it's more of a role-playing opportunity for you to become acquainted with some of the issues that whistleblowers might face. And coming from the legal background, there are a number of issues that a whistleblower would encounter, and I want to briefly go over some of those things right now. And the reason I'm choosing the video method is because I've noticed that in some of your, basically in all of your responses and your posts, these issues aren't being brought up. You're bringing up good issues, but these are just some issues. Rather than going through each one and saying, hey, you're not talking about this, I figured that this would just be an easier way to go about addressing those issues. First is the idea of retaliation. Every whistleblower has to deal with the common fear that the company is going to somehow seek revenge through demotion, through harassment, through termination, through pay reduction. Not only is retaliation illegal, it still happens. Unfortunately, it's a reality that some businesses don't understand that often the cover-up, it's the bigger problem than the initial problem brought to the attention by the whistleblower. So coming from a lawyer's background, I can help you understand that that if you know employees and your future roles as HR professionals who are dealing with these issues, you need to be aware of their rights, and not only of their rights, but also the laws that related to it. I'm not going to go over the laws that we've gone over this week, but it is always helpful to be aware that virtually every federal agency, and for many on the state level, this is the same thing. Each agency has a different whistleblower statute. You do have an omnibus whistleblower statute, but other statutes may apply. So it is important that you be aware of what what statutes apply. Because if more than one applies, you may be on the hook for complying with not only the state statute, but the federal statute as well. So that's an issue that's an HR professional you need to be aware of. And as a whistleblower, the whistleblower needs to be aware of that as well, because in some instances, the whistleblower can receive benefits under the or compensation for their or reward for their whistleblowing under the federal statute and the state statute. So the whistleblower could have an even bigger incentive to come forward. But if you're defending against the whistleblower's actions, you could just simply argue, well, they have a bigger incentive to not be honest because they want a bigger payday. Another issue that you might not consider right offhand is gender. In some of the responses, there's not much talk about how gender can play a role in the decision, in George's decision to do what he did. But female whistleblowers tend to experience more blowback than male whistleblowers. There's a very strong, bias against female whistleblowers because of just the nature of sexism. Some male whistleblowers may actually receive praise for uncovering wrongdoing, whereas women may be seen as just hysterically blowing something out of proportion. So a woman who's thinking about whistleblower may be in a more precarious position, not only because of this just structural dynamics that relate to whistleblowing, but because of her gender. So that may open up a new area of concern where you go from the whistleblower protections to the gender discrimination protections may now kick in and may have an application on how you go about evaluating the whistleblower in an organization. You also have the issue of repercussions for the company. Some managers in a company may engage in shady practices and upper management may not know about it, but the company still appears to be doing what it's supposed to do. You have employees who believe in the company's mission and vision statement. They don't want to break the public's trust. And they have to balance that with the need to bring to light some nefarious activities they believe some lower level employees or mid-level employees are committing. So when we're dealing with our scenario, we have to be in mind that one of the things that George is going to have to think about, how is this going to affect the company as a whole? Is the company as a whole able to withstand the scrutiny that would befall it as a result of the whistleblowing? So that may be something that George may have had in the back of his mind, and that's something that he might want to explain to his daughter. And then finally, and unfortunately, this is a reality that people have to deal with when they're whistleblowing, is their future employability. At some point, a whistleblower may seek to work elsewhere, and as a result, they may be seen as a problem employee. And that's one of the considerations that a whistleblower has to take into account. What if the whistleblower can never again work in that particular arena? In our scenario, if you do a little bit more research, we find that George took a settlement from his company. Well, what if the settlement money runs out? And and corporations remember, hey, we heard about that guy who blew the whistle when he was at another corporation, and they may not want to hire George. So these are some of the things that HR professionals have to keep in the back of their mind, whistleblowers have to be cognizant of, and how, as even if some of you go on to become attorneys, you have to consider when determining how to handle a whistleblowing case. So far, your posts are very good, but like I said, these are just some of the issues that I've seen that, in my experience as a lawyer, have played a part in determining whether a whistleblower can really have an impact in the corporate world. So I encourage you to keep up the good work. You're all doing fine work. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to drop me an email, contact me. I'm always welcome. I'm here to help you. And my prayer is that God will continue to bless you and keep you as you continue to pursue his calling for your lives. God bless.